Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au.
Welcome, everybody. We are interrupting your regularly scheduled program for an emergency. You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card podcast.
This is a true trading card emergency. That's right. Yeah.
Russell and I are here to break it down. It all happened in the early hours this morning. Damian Lillard has not quite got his wish, but he got a wish. He's out of Portland. Miami couldn't get the job done. He's now off to the Bucks.
Do you think actually this is a better wish than the Heat?
I don't think Miami think it's a better wish. That's for sure. Look, it's interesting that Lillard has sort of demanded his trade and everything, and recently Giannis has come out saying that he's not going to stick around and lose. So I feel like this is the Bucks pulling the trigger and saying, "We've heard you, Giannis. We're going to make a move."
And we literally talked about that on the last show, didn't we?
Yeah.
That he put them on the clock and, blah, blah, blah. So that was, amazing timing. Did you see the tweet from Worldwide Wobe where he had Giannis picking Lillard first pick from the All-Star game?
Oh,
and then,
wow.
And all the worlds have just collided now. So, yeah. There's always a narrative there, isn't it? Like,
it's all about the narrative, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what makes it so entertaining.
So why don't we run through the whole trade? Because there's a lot of ingoing and outgoing. So
it's crazy. Yeah. What I'll do is I will actually try and that's a big.
Well, while you're doing that, if you're happy for me to read through it,
yeah, you can read through it.
By the time I've read through it, you'll be halfway. You'll be doubly finished. I'll say. All right. So outgoing for the Blazers, Lillard is out, Nurkic is out, Nazir Little is out, and Keon Johnson. I was thinking for a second, is that Keldon or Keon? No, that's Keon Johnson. Incoming for the Blazers is DeAndre Ayton, Drew Holiday, and Kumara. So they have actually decreased their salary. No, I'm going to say they've increased it. Geez, this is really putting me on
putting you on the spot now.
Totally is, yeah.
I'm
God, this is showing how bad my maths is. No, I think they've increased their salary. So they've increased their salary by 25%. The big one there, though, is that Bobby Marks and other basketball commentators basically have given the Blazers an incomplete for this deal for the fact that they know Drew Holiday's going to be moved on. So, yes, they've taken back more salary, but that was one thing that I definitely have been reading about, that they wanted Nurkic gone. So the Bosnian Bear was like, Lillard and him has to go together. So they definitely got their wish there.
And he's gone to the most stacked roster in the league.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Bucks outgoing Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, incoming Damian Lillard. So literally a 2-for-1 there. They took back 110% of their salary. Outgoing for the Suns, DeAndre Ayton and Kumara. And incoming, this is all the pieces now, Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nazir Little, and Keon Johnson. So
there's a lot of pieces there. What do you think got the Suns involved with this?
So since their new ownership has taken over, they've not been scared to do moves. And I think that's, brutally, blatantly, you can't make it any more obvious than that. And, they're going all in. And I think, so for them, I personally think that they wanted Ayton gone. I think that's also part of it. And they consider Nurkic an upgrade, even though you would probably in your mind not consider that. But it does make a little bit of sense in terms of fit, because I think the things that the Suns need is they don't need a big man with touch. They need a big man that can hurt people, get rebounds, set some nice screens, take up space. And I think Nurkic, does that. Even though Ayton's a big guy, he does seem more of a small big man, if that's the appropriate
is that
verbiage.
The right term?
The thing I'm a little bit confused about, though, is Grayson Allen, Nazir Little. I know that, all this stuff can be, cleaned up and fixed, but they're so close to the cap, or the hard cap. I'm a little bit, I suspect that, if Grayson Allen has moved and and Johnson, I'm not going to be shocked about that either, so.
Well, think about it this way, right? So you had Ayton as one piece on the, and as a trade piece potentially, right? Come mid-season.
Yeah, sure.
You've now got 4 pieces, 4 very small pieces to play with.
Yeah, sure.
So come trade deadline, they can wheel and deal. They can actually sort of orchestrate some smaller deals to get the key pieces they need to make a run at the chip.
Yeah.
So, nice.
So who do you think, just let's make a too early to call, who won this trade? Because it's kind of cool for a lot of reasons. Like, I don't think there's anyone who, got their pants pulled down totally. And I don't think there's a really obvious winner. And then from a salary perspective, it's so close on all the teams. I actually think this is as close to a perfect trade as you can get in the modern NBA.
I think there's a potential loser. I don't know.
Sure.
I reckon the Suns are a potential loser.
Okay.
Nurkic,
so talk to me about that, because I wouldn't have said that.
Because obviously it appears that Nurkic is there. It could go. His injury history worries me. So he could go from a potential upgrade piece to literally a dud piece.
Sure.
And when you're trying to literally they've got one of the most stacked rosters in the league.
Yeah.
If you buy a broken piece, you might have just closed your window for the year.
Sure.
That's I don't know. I have concerns around it. I do like the flexibility they've created by turning their sort of big piece into a few pieces.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I do have concerns on the value they've sort of put with Nurkic.
Yeah, okay.
I think Portland will be an unknown quantity, but that's probably a good thing. It's a new chapter in Portland, which is good. It's now not Dame time, funnily enough. And we'll see if the Bucks actually get better with this combination. I do have concerns that the Bucks lose a little bit in the defensive side of things, but God, when you got the firepower of Lillard and Antetokounmpo, I think the Bucks are the bet yourself.
So I might do a winners and losers for each team. How does that sound?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
So I think what Portland wanted was cap relief, and they wanted young players, and they wanted picks. And I don't think they got, the greatest assets back in the world. But in saying that, they ticked all of their boxes off. And I think to do that for somebody who's getting paid $45 million and is 33 years old, I think that's a major win. So I think for the Blazers, congratulations. I think the other thing too, which, like, I've been saying this for a little while now, there was no reason for them to trade him to a destination that didn't suit him. Like, I think all of the years of service that he gave to that team had to come back to something. So I think when they couldn't get the deal worked out with the Heat, this trade for me is like, makes so much sense because they're getting him into a position to actually win a championship. And I think, I think when you talk about, teams looking after players and all that type of stuff, I think that's actually going to go a long way into the future of, them attracting free agents and rebooting their rebuild. Not that they're going to be looking to attract free agents anytime soon, but I think that's something they can definitely, use to talk to people about. So
it's a selling point for sure. Like, no doubt there at all.
So DeAndre Ayton, I actually don't mind prospecting on him. And we talk about this sometimes a little bit in cards. It's like prospecting on high-end stuff. And it's kind of really funny because being the previous number one pick, card-wise, his value has come down so much. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's kind of weird. Almost you can say that about his basketball value too. Like, he's really depreciated, a lot. And I think
it's very interesting because Ayton as a center he's one of those underrated old school type bigs. I think he would have done remarkably well in the 90s.
I think the crush on him, though, is just he's not that physical underneath the boards and he can get pushed around a little bit.
True.
And he's not a great of a rebounder as his sort of athleticism would, dictate. I think that's and I think that was the frustration that he and Monty Williams had last year. And
lack of athleticism,
I thought Vogel was going to sort of, rekindle that relationship and get him back on board. But, clearly that was...
He shared the same sentiment as Monty.
Yeah.
And just gone.
Look, picking up Drew Holiday, I love this guy so much. I think, the ultimate character guy in the locker room. He can play both ends of the court. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Bucks. And I actually would love to have a guy like that around to guide and look over a rebuild, because I think you do need those sensible.
I don't know. I think the Drew Holiday contract is one of the interesting pieces, because this Drew Holiday ends up off this board because they want to move him.
Yeah, and I think that's the sentiment that's currently out there at the moment. But, there's another part of me that says, why not keep this guy around and, show Scoot Henderson how to play and show Shaden Sharp how to defend. Because in my mind...
We got what? So 3 weeks till we got 3 weeks till the season starts.
Let's start talking about the Bucks. I'll use this as a segue in, because I think this is where the Bucks are going to suffer the most, because he can defend literally 4 positions. He can definitely defend the 1, 2, and the 3, and sometimes he can defend power forwards too. That's how an amazing of a defender that he is.
Yeah.
So, that's the part that I probably would say I love the most for the Blazers, even though I know he's going to be moved on. And that's the part I hate the most for the Bucks, because I think, yes, you're getting an offensive upgrade. I think that's obvious, and particularly, end of game shot making.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of better players than that can do it than Lillard, but the defending is going to be something that I have to compensate for. So that's the thing that I'm really interested to see, where the Bucks go, because I think they're going to have to fill out their roster with one more move, because actually, I quite like Grayson Allen too, even though I hate.
I feel like they gave up their defense to get Lillard.
Yeah, and he's someone that maybe could have started for them at the 2, right? So again, it's almost like 2 roster spots they need to fill now because of this. So, do you really want Pat Connaughton playing 30, 35 minutes a night? I don't think that's a great outcome. And I think
you never know.
I think that puts a lot of pressure too on Middleton. So I think there's something else, going to be happening in that space, but.
It's one of those on-flow effects, I guess, is once the big move's made, there's a secondary move that needs to happen to make the roster fit, I guess, especially when you're the team that acquires the big piece.
Yeah. So I think if you're the Bucks and you're trying to keep Giannis happy, and you are trying to win a championship, this is the obvious move and this is the correct move. So I think I'm going to say congratulations to the Bucks. I think they got the best player out of the deal, and that is important when it comes to grading a trade. And then you also have to say to them, good on you guys for taking a risk and, having a go. Because I think that is a real thing. So,
It's just interesting. It's very interesting the way that this has all come out. I didn't see the Suns being the team that facilitated.
Yeah, totally.
That was
and it happened so quickly, because there was rumblings yesterday, and then today, bang, there's the trade when I woke up first thing in the morning. Like, I got into the group chat today and it had already been laid out for me. So I was like, right, wow,
it was like 6 this morning. It was all.
Was it really?
Was all happening.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then I had a friend that didn't believe it because it was Shams that broke it, not Woj.
Well, there is a Twitter burner account for Shams that is so close to him, and sometimes I get tricked by that too. So I'm okay with your friend not believing that, actually.
He's like, oh, he's in Miami, so he loves Miami. He's like, no, it's the dream's not over yet. And then he wanted, he's like, that's all right, the Heat will get Drew Holiday.
So if we start looking at Phoenix now in terms of, winners and losers here, I think Nurkic fits that team so much more because they've got so much offensive firepower. Bradley Beal, Durant, Booker. How much more scoring, realistically do you need?
Yep.
You don't. So I like that a lot. And
it depends when Durant gets injured, because he'll get injured at some point, and then Booker will be out for a stint. So maybe they'll lose
but you've still got Beal, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
it's a ridiculous team in terms of scoring. Like, if you're talking about NBA 2K, it's 99 overall for offense, right? Yeah,
pretty much, yeah. So, I mean, Phoenix, I think Phoenix have got, it's good because someone like Nurkic, and to quote a friend of mine from this morning when I flicked him the trade, he goes, Nurkic is a good acquisition. He knows his role. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's going to go out, he's going to go and do his job. He's not.
And he's a little bit crazy too.
Yeah, and that's fine because you've got Kevin Durant in the team. He's a bit crazy as well.
You need a crazy guy in the locker room, I think.
Crazy to handle crazy. That's right. You're fine.
We have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is The Bang Man, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bangman is and what their product is offering. It's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy-in. You can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bangman's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bangman's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bangman product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bangman product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at 2 different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bangman changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bangman on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, The Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman. So let's just talk about Grayson Allen for 2 seconds, where he fits in, because actually they're pretty loaded. So they've already got Keita Bates-Diop at the wing, Bradley Beal. Mm-hmm. They've got Bol that's going to play somewhere, Booker Durant, Keon Johnson, Damian Lee, Saban Lee, Nazir Little. They got Chimezie Metu, who played for the Kings last year. They got Josh Okogie, who was amazing for the Suns last year. They got Terrence Ross, who played for the Magic the last couple of years, and he's been a really good 3-point shooting veteran off the bench. They got TJ Warren. So it's kind of funny. Someone is not going to be there.
Come tip off.
I would say 3 of those guys that I just read out are probably going to be cut.
I have a feeling, as I said earlier, I think that we've had the big trade, and the next step from here is figuring out who fits, who doesn't, and what moves on. And I think there will be a move on phase where players are traded, waived, and there are other opportunities within the league. But
surely it's the best defender that stays.
Correct. That's what they want. Phoenix just want another role player that can play defense, right?
Yeah. So Okogie has to stay. Maybe Grayson Allen does stay. Maybe
I think Allen might be on the plans. I think that the pieces they wanted were Allen and Nurkic. Yeah. I think they actually turned Ayton into multiple pieces. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Multiple utility pieces, and then they've got small contracts to muck around and trade for the other piece they need.
So like Mitu's gone. Maybe Watanabe's gone. Maybe TJ Warren's gone. That would be the logical thing, wouldn't it?
This is very... Vogel's now got a team.
Yeah. It's a real team, isn't it?
And he can focus and hone it just like he did with the Lakers in 2020. Do you know what I mean? Like all those last minute changes, the way that Vogel focused and tweaked the roster prior to going to the bubble. I don't know. I think it's very flexible now in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that was one of the concerns once all the contracts were sort of laid in the offseason. You're like, oh, it's very rigid as far as... because they've got big contracts.
Yeah, that's right.
And they turned Ayton's big contract into 3 or 4 little contracts.
That's actually really well put. When you say it like that, that makes sense. It just gives them a bit more flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, and then they can work it out. They've got a couple of months to really work out what works and what doesn't work. So, I don't know. Maybe Phoenix aren't the big loser, but I wouldn't be investing too much in Nurkic.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's segue straight into card values, because I'm not going to lie to you. This is all I want to do now is just talk about all the different players that's going through it. So let's start with the Bucks, because I think the obvious one to start with is Damian Lillard.
Yep.
And Card Ladder says that a PSA 10 silver for Lillard is $2,250 for his.
And you're not going to see any movement Card Ladder wise on today's news, but.
So just hear me out though. As much as I'm actually surprised by that price because it's high, the pop on that is 40, and if he wins a championship, there's no reason for that to go down. So to me,
he's that 2012 Prism rookie year, isn't he? The one where they're not the rookie. Does he? I'm just trying to.
There's no rookie logo on it.
Yeah, it's that year of Prism. I know which one it is.
The other funny thing about his too is that there was some contractual disagreement with him and Panini, and there was some sticker orders that went out that now don't get authenticated. by PSA and BGS. So he's a real funny one in terms of you really need to know your product. You really need to know the background about that. And
yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you just want something safe, stay away from the sticker autos because there's a little bit of a backstory to that. So look, I'm putting this as a buy, and I know this is a very high-end buy, and it's not something that, you would take lightly, but, in this sort of hypothetical world that we're now living in, particularly now he's been traded, I put this as a very strong buy, and I'm going to go one step further than that. I'm going to say Giannis is also now a buy because I think in terms of if you're talking about legacy, and you're talking about, does it matter to have one championship or two? Again, we spoke about this when we went through like that all-time list recently. It really does make a difference when you go from one MVP to two and one championship to two championships. So I feel very comfortable saying this. I think that his odds of winning a championship have dramatically increased since Lillard's come along. So
it's interesting. You're right about the low population count. I'm just going through. Oh,
geez. Though, look at the price on his silver PSA 10. It's 13,000 USD. Population's 80.
Yeah.
So that's double than the Lillard, but that's still, 1/10 of all these other wild boys that have come out the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Look, I'm going to hold strong with my assessment before I looked at the price because I think that thought process is the correct thing. So I think you can then trickle that down to lower end Giannis stuff too, because
I still find...
I know you're listening, Giannis, so I do apologize for mispronouncing your name. Sorry,
That's all right. I was going to say, with the Lillard side of it, it's actually interesting, that $22.50 price point. You think about it, when Lillard demanded a trade, like the way he's gone about it, I think that not tanked, but it declined. His trade value, like his card value went down.
Yeah, right.
And because he was so specific on where he wanted to go, like he was forcing a trade to Miami, basically. I think people were starting to worry about his hobby value because Miami were going to blow up the roster to get him.
So can I put a spin on that? I think that's a very good point. But my interpretation of that is that Portland fans are a very special bunch who are very dedicated to their team.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they sort of have these honeys. And I know, so let's call, in this instance, Lillard is the honey. But I've heard Portland fans be described as soccer mums too. They're sort of this like chitter-chatter group that like all about the sort of...
Yep.
The innuendo and all that type of stuff. So I think that plays part of it too. And so I'm not surprised because people have been selling off his stuff. Now that he's, leaving, I don't want any of my Lillard PC and all this type of stuff. I've seen those posts around, but I don't think that means his overall value is going to go down, particularly in the long term. And
no. I think it's a good time to buy Lillard at the moment. That would be
right.
That was where
particularly
I was
if he wins a championship. Yeah.
So I think he's gone from oh no, he's going to go to Miami, but they're going to have to get rid of everything but Butler to get him.
Yeah.
And that could be problematic to, oh no, he's now with Giannis.
Yeah.
And this is a scary duo.
Yeah, definitely.
So I actually think the fact that his price has dropped a little bit might actually signal the buy alert.
A mature veteran duo that are ready to win. They're not some Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown duo, that need time to still improve their games. Like these two are like
they're not a mismatch, like Kyrie and Luka. Got one in even the emergency pod.
Shots fired.
Shots fired every week.
Yep.
Sorry, Luka. He's going to knock me out if he ever meets me in person.
Oh, no.
If he listens to the show, he does. I'm sure he does.
I mean, Giannis listens, so...
Giannis does. But Giannis is a lot cooler than Luka.
So...
I'm savage.
All right, let's talk about Drew Holiday. I think that's a really interesting one because I don't think he has a lot of hobby value, but at the same time, he's a massive piece that, we can't not talk about. So
yeah, he doesn't appear on Card Ladder.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Either that or I'm spelling his name wrong.
Well, Aaron Holiday's on there.
All right, well, let's just do the old school 130 point and then let's just muddle through it.
Muddle through a little bit on 130 point.
So I'm going to go out to a limbs, and if he's not on Card Ladder, I'm going to say that he's not widely purchased.
That's a very, very, very educated guess. I would.
It's not exactly a hot take, is it?
Yeah, there's a few players on that trade board that I don't think will appear on Card Ladder.
They need to get more funding, eh? All right, 2009-10 Studio Drew Holiday rookie card, $3.13. Crown Royale number to 599 on card autograph for $20 Canadian. So that's 25 or 28 Australian dollars, something like that.
Oh, we're gonna be rich.
Okay, so the thing about a gentleman like this is a little bit like the CJ McCollum thing, where they're excellent NBA players, they're top class pros, but
hobby wise,
they don't have the Fruja factor. That's for sure.
That's exactly right. It's they're good pieces. I mean, Lillard's a tradable. Like, he's got value, hobby value, but he's a superstar. Same as Giannis.
So for me, this doesn't move the needle at all, and I don't see any reason why his values is going to go up. The only caveat I'm going to put onto that is that there was some rumor of him being traded for Chris Paul, and that makes so much sense because Chris Paul and the Warriors I find a little bit problematic, and he's great as a rotation piece, but Drew Holiday actually would solve a lot of their problems, and because of his defensive versatility. So
it's Drew is JRUE.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, he doesn't appear on card ladder. You know who does?
I'm going to make a complaint to card ladder.
See it right in. Get have a look at this. Grayson Allen is on card ladder.
But how much is that about volume of cards being sold and traded in the modern era? Like, if Drew Holiday was drafted in the same year Grayson Allen was, I suspect he would be there.
Yeah, true.
It must be a volume thing.
It has to be. It's a 2018. It's that era. That's that volume. Yep. Look, PSA 10 silver. You can last sold $15 US.
Yeah, sure. So look, it's PC only, right? I don't think there's any. Does it mean it's a bad PC to have? Not at all. Actually, that seems to me like a beautiful PC because he's all NBA defensive team. He's been Team USA. He's a champion.
Yeah.
Actually, what a fantastic PC. Yeah.
There we go. An iMac rookie. Is it a rookie? Not even rookie. No, it's just an iMac patch. Oh no, it is a rookie patch auto to 99 raw. Last sold for $40.
Yeah, let's go.
You Grayson Allen enthusiasts out there.
So we almost need like a caveat to buy, hold, and sell, isn't it? This is a strong buy if you want to PC the guy.
But I wouldn't be going hunting for it on eBay at the moment.
Thinking that you're going to make your retirement fund out of it. I think absolutely not.
Is there anyone that is a piece that is going to get a brand new opportunity now that might actually spark that kind of movement?
Can I just really quickly do Grayson Allen and I'll answer that question? Is that right? Because I've got Grayson up. So yeah. So Grayson Allen PSA 10 silver last sold for $15.61.
Yeah.
I think what we highlighted before was this huge logjam on the Phoenix Suns roster. So that makes me think that $15, look, it might go up. Most likely it will go up because, that's almost at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that, again, is just a PC only thing. And actually, for me, this is a stay away. I think that team is just too deep.
Come on, if you don't want a PSA 10 for $15, if that's too rich, you can pick up a PSA 9 for $3.
Yeah, no. I don't think it's a bad buy, but I just don't think the trade volume is going to be there.
You might be one of those PC people that just wants to get a card of every player on a roster for a championship year. So if you're a Phoenix supporter, yeah.
If you've got a good reason to buy it, that's fine. But I think, doing that for an investment, I think that's going to be difficult.
If you're investing, invest elsewhere.
I think that'll be very difficult.
Our guidance / advice, it's not professional advice, it's just an opinion.
This is fun. Come on. This is fun. We're just talking about cards. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Alrighty. So can you just ask your question again? Because I've got my old man brain on, obviously.
Which question was that?
I think you asked something along the lines of who is going to get a hobby boost from this trade.
Oh, yeah. So basically...
Is that the right question?
Is there... You see, you're not got old man brain.
All right.
It's long weekend brain.
Yeah.
That's what... yeah. So I don't know. Am I looking for some value? Is there someone that's going to get a fresh start that hasn't got hobby love, that is a small piece...
Yeah,
that's been moved on and may get a roster opportunity now, or is it kind of everyone's going to get waived?
I want to be able to say two people on this because I really think that my first answer is most likely going to be wrong, but that is still the one I'm most leaning towards, and I'm going to say DeAndre Ayton because I think, and I love these ones actually because you're betting on the fact that the talent outweighs the card value. And I think for Ayton, that is absolutely the case. You know, the thing that's working against him here is obviously the team that he's going to be going to. Like, I think Portland is not exactly, you know, on national TV every day or every second day. So obviously that's a negative. And then the second negative for him, obviously, too, is I don't think they're going to be trying to win, you know, next year. So
do you want a third negative?
Yeah, sure. Talk to me.
There's 1,596 copies of his PSA 10 silver.
Yeah, right. So that's the other contrast, isn't it? If we think about Giannis straight away, like it's just so
and
easy
Lillard, like the pop count,
yeah,
like flat out pop count on the card.
Look, irregardless of that, I still don't mind picking one of these up. So one sold for $34 recently, so that's around 50 Aussie, and you know I would, and this is probably the wrong way to think about cards in a lot of ways, and I'm going to admit this publicly, but I do like to bet on people's talent. I know the Fruja factor is at the end of the day probably the right thing to be betting on. But I do love betting on talent, and you know this guy is absolutely loaded with talent. Look, and then you just never know when someone's going to be flipped again into a better situation. So.
It's true. It's true. Look, some people bet on horses based on the sashes worn. Some people bet on the trainers. Some people bet on the name of the horse.
I have some weird calculation in my head that I can't actually verbalize. That I'm looking at this card, I'm like, the price of this is less than what their talent is, and I go, that sounds like a good deal. So yeah, and that's where I would put this at the moment. Yeah,
but yes, I definitely think there's it could go one of two ways. It's not going to plateau, I don't think.
And then after that, it has to be Lillard. I think that's the other really obvious one because
you got me thinking when you said Nurkic, so I thought I'd do a bit of searching.
Sure, you talk about Nurkic, and then I'll make a better argument for Lillard. How does that sound?
It sounds delightful.
Great.
So for the small price, and I think we've got 2 sales in the last year, for the small price of $30 US, you could have picked yourself up a PSA 10 Yusuf Nurkic rookie card, PSA 10 silver, population count of 19 because not many people would have sent them off. But yeah,
okay,
$30.
Look, I didn't even need to let you finish, and I'd already come around. I'm going to agree with what you just said. The logistics of this makes sense, doesn't it? The population is low.
Yep.
He's potentially going to have a long playoff run, which we know people can have spikes during that. They're going to get national TV exposure. And then if you flip that in the contrast to DeAndre Ayton, maybe that's what we could do this week. We could do a social media post because they're almost the same price too.
Yeah.
Do versus these two players.
Yeah.
And who would you rather buy right now? I think the correct answer is Bosnian Bear because in the next 12 months, I think he's got the most potential to go upwards.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to skyrocket. He's not helping you pay your mortgage off. But do you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to be a Jordan rookie that someone's buying for $1 million in the hope that one day it's going to go through the roof. But this is for $30.
Yep.
Pop count.
I actually can't disagree with you. To be perfectly honest,
the pop count's lower than the last sold price. That's all I'll say.
So I'm sticking with my answer though. I can't just
Lillard
backflip just because you've said something intelligent. I'm going to give you that. You keep that ad. That's your piece. And so I think for me the obvious one is Lillard here because if he's sitting currently at 2,000,
well, yeah, I can't disagree there. I support that. I'm looking at Lillard's. And then he adds a chip
to his resume. That's the real thing that's holding him back.
As I was saying earlier, I think people have jumped off Lillard because of the drama. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that he's down 20% over the year, I don't know. I see it. If he and Giannis start dominating the East, that's got to send it sky high, right?
Yeah.
Not sky high, but it's going to get back up to a people will remember how good Damian Lillard is.
Yep, definitely. So I think the other thing we need to talk about too is what's the other fallout for other people, surrounding this trade. So
Miami is sad.
Sure. Yep.
That's all I've got.
I definitely agree with you on that one. I was actually thinking when I said this to you is we can look at this for every single team, but let's start with the Blazers. So the obvious winner here is Scoot Henderson because that was the piece that I didn't understand when they drafted him. He's a 19-year-old kid playing the same position as a 33-year-old guy, and it didn't make sense that you would have them both there, and then how would Scoot start in front of Lillard? Do you know what I mean? And so I think the writing was on the wall. Yeah. And I think I got to admit, I was completely wrong about this because I had an online discussion with somebody, and they were saying they'd bet quite a bit of money for Scoot Henderson to win the Rookie of the Year, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That doesn't make sense at all. Why would they give more minutes to Scoot than Lillard? And obviously now I need to eat, very public humble pie about that, which I'm very happy to, by the way. So Scoot is the absolute winner here, and
For sure.
we're going to talk about PYT values at some point in the podcast. Let's talk about it right now. So I think that San Antonio is going to be, say, let's call them $100. And then the second price value will be Portland, for obvious reasons, being Scoot. And that might be $70 or $75. Just making up numbers here, obviously.
I reckon actually using the $100 is good because I'm just going, I don't know.
It's easier, right? Yeah.
We're about to hit the spring carnival, so all the horse racing analogies I'm apologizing for. But you know how, like, when you're reading a form guide, you've got the 100, which is the best horse or the best dog, greyhound, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So your 100 is where your number one pick is. Your 90 is where your Scoot is, right? Like,
yeah. I got to say to you, I think that going into next year, yes, you're going to be paying a lot for the Blazers, and correctly so, but that actually might be the most sound value because everyone's going to be, not everyone, but there's going to be a lot of attention put onto San Antonio. There's going to be a lot of competition for those spots, and so the person who's going to be immediately really good is going to be Scoot Henderson and the opportunity.
Yep.
And Wembanyama is going to be held back by minutes restrictions, game restrictions, all that stuff. We know the tricks that the Spurs play and how that's going to impact his playing time and numbers. So I think the huge winner here, this is not really answering your question from before, but if we're tying that back in,
it makes sense.
I love this so much for that. So then, if you then look further down the roster, you look at Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah.
Shaedon Sharpe is going to be, obviously winning from this because now you've just freed up 20, 25 shots a game. The kid should be playing more minutes, and he earned it. I think the way that he played last year was. He plays the right way. I think he's still got a lot to learn, but do you know what I mean? Like he's the right mentality. He's got the right attitude. He plays really hard. I don't think he plays as hard as Benedict Mathurin, but the kid plays really hard and he deserves more opportunity and, it makes sense. So I think that's the other winner. Looking down the rest of the roster, look, I got to tell you, mate, look, there's probably some guys here that are going to go up in some value, but I think they're the ones that, you could really talk about. Look, at a pinch, you could talk about Simons. But...
I was going to say, is Anthony Simons?
Yeah, sure. Talk about Simons, but I think also, too, that's been played out a little bit. Like
it's already... you're right.
He's had, rises already, and Shaedon Sharpe's going to be a really interesting one to watch because the current product is still coming out, and actually his prices at the moment are really strong. But inevitably, when the next year's product comes out, you'll see a slide, but you actually might be getting some really good value there. So,
do you think there's a chance that the Blazers actually come out and play some good basketball?
I don't think they'll be motivated to play well. No.
Okay.
And also, too, you look at this roster, right? It's not star-studded.
No, that's what I mean. But it's a bunch of unknowns with chips on their shoulder.
They're going to be an awesome league pass team, man. That's going to be like Orlando the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like tune in to watch the Blazers play, young team, get up and down, do some cool stuff. But
like with OKC last year,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But worse than OKC, like with no SGA.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Pretty ordinary.
All right. Should we talk about the Bucks roster and see what we can find here?
Is there much on the Bucks, really? Like, I don't know. I feel like the focus on the Bucks roster is very much...
So we've spoke about Giannis already. We've spoke about Lillard. Is there anything else here that we're missing?
I can't see anything, honestly. Like,
all right, this is a very deep cut, but let's do it anyway. Malik Beasley. So this guy can play. This guy can really play basketball, and I think a little bit of his problems. He's had problems with the law. So obviously that's something that you can't really look past. So Beasley is not even on card ladder. So that does make it difficult. Quickly load up and do an assessment, but that's okay. Give me 2 seconds.
So much.
He can shoot really, really well. He can shoot from deep, and I think that's going to be important anytime you've got someone like Giannis that can finish at the hoop that he can. And actually, I wouldn't call him an excellent defender, but he's definitely got the tools to defend well. So, this is a little bit like your Bosnian Bear assessment where, well, it's even cheaper. So you can get a PSA 10 Prism Mosaic for $2.69. look, I'm going to go out and say this is actually a buy. At prices like that, National Treasures, Colossal Rookie Materials, 22 out of 25, 550. So there's no reason that he shouldn't be competing for the starting 2-guard spot. Yeah. So Grayson Allen's gone, Drew Holiday's gone. If you look down the rest of that roster, there's no one there. That Beauchamp is not ready.
Beauchamp needs to change his number.
You reckon? You don't like Agent Zero?
You don't think Damian Lillard will have something to say about it?
Oh, maybe he'll have to pay.
It might be double
O,
double zero. Yeah.
Actually, when you look through that roster, right, there's literally not another shooting guard on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Chris Middleton's going to be playing shooting guard.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's actually.
All right, I'm doubling down on my assessment of that. I'm going to double down. I'm actually really glad we looked into this because when you look through his prices, like this guy is like, how much lower can it go?
Yeah, true.
Grand Reserves Cornerstones to 99, rookie on-card autograph, $12.50 US.
Well, that's worth it. That's a sneaky.
There's
sneaky
stuff on
punt.
PWCC that's being selling, eBay, all different types of platforms too. So, yeah. All right. Strong buy, Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley, get on it.
Definitely there's risk factor there. Obviously there's risk factor there, but I think if you enjoy deep cut prospecting, that is something that is an absolute.
There'll be a week in the NBA season or a month period where you just need to be on the ball ready to sell.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a couple of weeks where he just goes on an absolute tear.
Yep.
And be ready to pull the trigger. Have those listings ready.
And I feel like we've done Phoenix already because we've ran through the whole roster, but why don't we just do it again for some deep cuts?
Give him a bit of a touch up. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Phoenix, like, card value wise, I don't think like your usual suspects like your Bookers, Durant, Beal, etc. are going to.
No, but I still think we should talk about Devin Booker. Like, you know what I mean? Why don't we talk about Devin Booker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we definitely should do it because he's a premier player that people have, bought into quite heavily. And if he does become a champion, so he's currently sitting at 1,000 USD. So that's 50% less than Lillard.
It is. If he wins a chip, does he go up?
So you tell me, why is Lillard double the price of Booker?
Bringing up stat because the population count is 215. Yeah,
sure. I was just going to say, what has Lillard done that Booker hasn't? And he's had those massive walk-off shots in the playoffs, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And some of those are meme-worthy and will probably go down the Hall of Fame in terms of memes, aren't they? Right. So you can definitely argue that.
I genuinely think that the pop count plays a huge factor.
Sure. Pop count, he hasn't had the Fruja factor that Lillard has had, but I'm going to say that his talent is 5% less than Lillard's, and you could make an argument that he's got an equal amount of talent.
Yeah. Oh, look, so, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt his talent at all.
That's like my whole equation in my head. I was talking to you about that before. I'm like, where you've got X amount of talent and the prices like this. So if you're making the argument that Lillard's a good purchase at 2,000, so this has to be a good purchase at 1,000.
Yeah, and look, I'm just looking at the last. Wow, so it capped out at 4K 2 years ago,
which is the COVID crazy, right?
No, it was 8,000 in the COVID crazy period.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you chopped that down.
Once that peak sort of it didn't come down quickly, but it settled out at 4 to 5K.
Right.
But it peaked at 8 or 7,900. But yeah, like it was still back in March, a year and a half ago, it was 3,000.
All right, I'm going to put this out to the listeners. Why is this kid sitting at 1,000 with all the talent that he's got? And also the team position that they're in.
Can people not take this as me really throwing shade at Booker? Because I think he's actually a really good player.
Mate,
and
just
he has a lot
throw shade. Let's do a headline.
We'll call it the Doncic factor.
Sure.
It's all about the Luka factor. He's done nothing. History has shown him to be not doing anything. And when I say he hasn't done anything, he's got 0 MVPs, 0... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
How many all defensives? There's that resume that you need to build.
Sure. Okay, I'm actually going to eat humble pie almost straight away. This is like how many times have I eaten pie tonight? So I just
it's a long weekend. You can go for a run and run it off.
I'm definitely going to need to do a run to eat. So I just quickly looked up Tatum. So Tatum, guess what Tatum's currently sitting at? Don't cheat. Like, guess.
All right. Let's have a think. Tatum, 1,800 for silver.
Yeah. He's sitting at $726.
Huh?
Yeah, right.
It's because they keep failing.
Well, so okay, my theory on that is that people loaded up on him for the finals and were planning to sell them and flooded the market. That is the only reason why for that, because again, that ratio doesn't make sense. But what now doesn't make sense is, why is Booker higher than Tatum with all the things that you just said?
Okay, so Booker was a population count of 210.
Tatum is 825.
Yeah. So that I do think population, especially once you get above 500 cards.
People aren't silly. When they're spending this amount of money, they're looking at things before they buy. Absolutely.
Yeah. That Lillard, I think the pop count on the Lillard is important, is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's less than 50 copies of his PSA 10 is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the Tatum one shocks me. I'm not going to go on. Like, every time... Where is it? Green... Not Pulsar, just the flat green. Yep, still.
Well, while you're finding the green, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you want a Tatum at 726, a Booker at 1,000, or a Lillard for 2,000? And you can say, I'll get 3 Tatums, 2 Bookers, or 1 Lillard.
I'm on Booker, I think. I think if that pop count was a little bit lower on Tatum, I might go Tatum. I'm not going to Lillard, which is, he's too far into his career. These two are a lot younger, Tatum and Booker. They've got more opportunity, but I think Booker, just because of the pop count, like it's a quarter of.
This is a really, really hard question.
Yeah.
Because you kind of like, the overall maximum talent, I think, is Tatum.
Yeah, agreed. But I don't think it's 4 times better than Booker. And I think it's a different ratio, but
definitely.
Do you know what I mean? But it's not.
And
he's not
particularly
even
the way
Tatum's better, but he's not twice as good. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
His prices come down so much. So,
and the funny thing is Booker's price. But the thing is, you see the Celtics win a championship, you see that price go up.
100%, and that's the thing. And I think with the fan base,
that's one where the championship will matter. Look,
I'm going to rank Tatum 1 just for the fact that is significantly less than what I thought. I thought that was going to be at least 1,500 to 200. So to see it at 700, I'm actually genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put 2 as Lillard just for the fact that he has this massive opportunity. And I think even if he doesn't win the chip, I think you're going to see people prospecting on that this year. But the key, I think, point for me is the pop count. And then third, I'm going to put Booker. And just like for the record, I like all of these purchases at the moment because they're all in a very unique, position at this very present moment
with
in time.
With the which one would you get? Can we set a, I don't know what we call it, the 25 years from now price point?
Oh, sure.
So that's like if you're buying it and it's like if you vault this card and in 20 years you open the vault,
so
who
Tatum,
are you winning with?
Tatum.
I think Tatum. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think if Booker gets success, Booker might be worth more, but I don't see, even though there are only 40 of them, Lillard going through the roof. He also has there's so many variables, and this is why it's an amazing hobby that we're in, right? You think about it, who's Lillard going to be overshadowed by? Giannis.
Sure. But, so I think in the hypothetical conversation that Lillard wins a championship and Booker doesn't, then I would say that Lillard will have more value long term. But if that's flipped around the other way, then I can very comfortably say, I think actually you might see a decrease on that Lillard, and then I think you'll see an increase on that Booker.
So current teams, I just want to know, because I'm going to add more variables because I like variables.
This is just getting deeper.
Phoenix win the chip this year. Whose team is it? Booker's or Durant's?
Look, I think Durant is the person that's going to make them win the championship is going to be Durant.
Yep. Durant was also the best player on that Warriors team, and it was Steph Curry's team.
Yeah.
Is it Booker's team or is it Durant's team?
But I've heard a lot of stuff coming out about Phoenix about the competitiveness of Booker. And the thing that is really being, we haven't actually touched on tonight, is the person that now has the most increased responsibility after Chris Paul left and they brought on Bradley Beal is Booker. Because if he can't work out how to defend across 2 positions at least, or maybe 3 positions, and he can't work out how to get the ball effectively and efficiently into offense, it doesn't matter how many people he's got that can score the ball. I really could see, say, Marcus Smart giving them end-to-end defense and giving them problems. They're not getting to the offense until there's 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Some scenario like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a real thing, how they're going to have to work that out. And I think that's going to be Booker's thing to work out for the most part. Yeah.
My thought is, if Phoenix win, it's Booker's team.
Okay.
I think Kevin Durant's painted himself that way, that he wants to be the main guy and he just isn't. He comes into a situation. Same with the Warriors. Okay. I don't think Kevin Durant's a leader. I think he is amazing basketballer. I just don't think he's a leader. I could be wrong.
Like, he's the best second man in NBA history, something like that.
Yeah, but he's like a great player, but he's not a great leader. He's not recognized for leading his team.
Sure.
He just plays winning basketball.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Whereas if the Celtics win...
That's my Anthony Edwards theory, right?
He's just
Anthony
a good
Edwards
player.
Is actually the heart and soul of that team.
Yeah.
And if they're going to be good, it's going to be Anthony Edwards going to lead them. They're not Karl Anthony Towns.
Not Cat, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So that's your Devin Booker theory,
yeah.
right?
So I reckon it's Booker's team. So he's the Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, same thing. Yeah. I think if the Celtics win, it's Tatum's team. And I think if the Bucks win, it's Giannis's team.
Sure.
So I think it takes away from Lillard because history remembers as Giannis winning those championships, not Lillard. I don't think Lillard becomes synonymous with it.
Okay.
And that's just an extra variable. It's not necessarily something that impacts everything. I just, I don't know. Because I'm thinking, we're talking about, like, which card would you buy? And I'm like, yeah, well, in 20 years' time, how is history going to look back on these players?
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Anything
Anything else you want to touch on before we sign off?
No, I'm good. I'm pretty good. I did actually. I want to give a shout out to Lachlan Blunt. This can't wait till Sunday. Tagged me in a sale because he thought of me. 2 Boston cards went up for sale. It was an absolute bargain. They were Prism. It was like a Bill Russell and a Larry Bird green Prism variant. 2 for $25. PSA. I think they were PSA 10. I'm very sad. Lachlan was spewing. He missed out on it. I missed out on it. I believe another listener of the show is the one that got in and bought them.
Okay.
I think it was Sunny Boy Karan that got in.
Yeah, right.
That snagged it nice and quickly. But
I
was spewing. I'm like, oh, it's green, even though it's Boston. So I get a bit sad about that. I'm like, it's a perfect color match. And they're like, oh, it's the team I don't like. It's like my natural born rival. I'm not allowed to like the green, but it's a perfect color match. Anyway.
Well, that was awesome. I'm so glad we had this opportunity to bust this out, and kind of exciting to get a bit of a pulse back into the NBA.
It is.
I miss this stuff, you know?
It is. And look, we've got, it's the 28th today. Opening week is a month away.
Yeah, it's not long.
Training camps have started. People are getting into shape. It's all happening. We're going to get some preseason games very soon. Going to start seeing our favorite players out on the court and start seeing who we want to start prospecting. It's going to be, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ad. Thanks everyone for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday, probably.